Hello, everyone. Welcome on to Branded. This is the podcast that takes you behind the scenes and beyond the brand to give you the clarity and confidence to challenge the status quo and show the fuck up in your own life. I'm your host, Sarah Glenn, and I am so excited to bring you Anja Grissom. I have known Anja for a little while now, and she is just pure fire and energy. So I'm really pumped for today's episode. Before we dive in, I'm going to introduce you. So Anja is the founder and CEO of AskAnja. She has been a teacher, coach, mental health therapist, personal trainer, and entrepreneur for over 30 years. So she's got a lot of experience that she's about to impart on you. And within some of 15 of those years, she's dedicated to the MLM space, and she's a social media master coach. And she really helps to focus her attentions on other moms and helping them build, more confidence, empowering themselves, kind of cutting through the bullshit and learning how to build solid businesses online. So yay, I'm so excited to have you here, Anja.
Well, thanks for having me, Sarah. Yes, all the things. Yes, excited to be here with you.
As we dive in, because there is so much good stuff to be sharing, let's go back a little bit and let's take a peek at what was life like before you started your businesses. I mean, you've been doing entrepreneurship for 30 years, but before it looked like what it looks like now, right?
Right.
What did life look like then, and all the kind of things that you were going through?
So different. And that's what, a lot of times people see us. I mean, of course, we're even going to grow more, right? We're going to look different in 10 years, 20 years, whatever. But they see us at this point, and we're also good at this is where we're at. And that's why I did a reel the other day. Is I need an award for appearing to have my shit together. Even at this, because I'm a single, divorced, empty nester mom. And you know what I did right before we got on here? I changed my office from one room to the other. I was bringing this desk down the hallway, manhandling it by myself. So that's what we do behind the scenes. And then we get on here and go, and we have it all together. And we don't. But no, when I started, you guys, small town girl, divorced family. I was a military brat. I was born in Germany. So I lived 7 places by the time I was 7 years old. So I was super shy. And and then my parents got divorced, and, I was the oldest, had a lot of responsibility, but even then I kind of feel like I was that girl. I was a basketball player. I was a cheerleader. I, did pom, I did track, I did these things. And it might've appeared that I was one way. I would even get accused of being like a snob. I was like, are you kidding me? I'm shy. And it would come off as something completely different, right? So I feel like kind of my whole life, people have gotten the wrong impression, because here I am, shy. I dropped speech 3 times in college.
And look at you now.
Look at me now. I tell you those things because, if you're I can't do what Sarah does, I can't do what Anja, or any of her guests, these people that you see us doing reels and TikToks or lives, and that we come off confident. Know that there was a before. Know that even sometimes before we push the button, there's a am I gonna, or we get off and we're sweaty pits or whatever. It's still there, right? So again, small town girl, got married young, too young. Side note, don't do that. It's too young. And then it went through infertility for 10 years. I had a stepdaughter, but I didn't have my children for 10 years. So this affected my confidence as well, because what are you supposed to do as a woman? If you choose to have children, you're supposed to be able to have them, right? And so many people struggle with that. And so that affected my confidence as well. But again, I was a teacher at this point, counselor, cheer coach, basketball coach, which that's what you do at small schools. You're like Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, you wear all the hats.
Your hat, on to the next, right? And I just dated myself. If you don't know who Mr. Rogers was, Google it. But
hey, I almost said the word Rolodex the other day on my live. I was like, oh my gosh, who even knows what that is anymore?
Funny note, when I was a high school counselor, one kid came in and said, I'm supposed to type this college application. I said, oh, okay, there's my typewriter. And they were like, I'm supposed to type, like they're just standing there frozen and no idea how to use a typewriter. I was like, give me that, I'll do it for you. But
Yeah.
like, I mean, like I said, I was in a marriage that I got married too young. I mean, I was married for 29 years, you guys, but it was, I mean, I was married to an alcoholic, went through infertility, like stepmom. I was a stepmom, a lot of just drama, right? And so I have a lot of the facade. Again, me putting out like everything's okay, and behind the scenes, I'm juggling all the balls and trying to make everything and everyone okay. And I was putting everybody else first, but no one would really, I mean, when I filed for divorce, people were like, what? Like, we thought you were the perfect couple. We thought, we had no idea any of this was going on, because that's what we do as women, is we take care of everybody else, right? And I was a teacher, a counselor. I'd gone into private practice. We had 3 fitness boot camps in 3 different locations. We had done all, I had achieved, because I mean, a lot of you may be overachievers. That's what we do. Kind of sometimes to don't look at this. Don't look at what's going on over here. It's that whole hero from the counseling realm. It's that hero mentality. I'm going to be perfectionism. Anybody relate to perfectionism?
Oh my gosh.
That was me.
Yes.
Right? And so hard on myself. And we just got off something else where someone talked about not stopping and celebrating. I never celebrated myself or like, good job. It was like, that was what I was supposed to do. Right. And it was never good enough. And so that's where I was. And I remember when I got invited to a party, found MLM, and I was like, no. I'm the first one in my family to go to college. I have 3 degrees. I'm not going to sell things now. Like, I all of a sudden became a snob. Like, I don't know what transition happened, but the main reason was I didn't know anybody making, really making a living at it. And, but very quickly I saw so much more through entrepreneurship, whether it's an MLM or something else, how it builds confidence as you build like self-development, right, Sarah? Like, we listen to a lot of different self-development. We read more. I've always been a reader, but reading more, listen to podcasts or listen to audio. And it filled me up, because again, I'm an overachiever, hard worker. So I was like top 10 at this, number 1 at this. But I remember the switch of sitting in my new director training and realizing that I was trying to make everybody be me. And I was just consuming the goodness that I was being fed, right, by my upline, by corporate or whatever. And it was this moment of realization that it was time for me to step in and like, I really like know who I was to a point, wherever I could at that point, and then turn around and feed other people. Right. And pour that goodness into other people. And it was such a pivotal moment for me, because I remember the first time I wasn't number 1, because I was a number 1 recruiter for 5 years, and it messed with my identity, because that's who I was. But I had to work through that and go, no, I want to celebrate the person who is. And that's where that growth, that emotional IQ comes in. But that all came through this journey of being in an MLM or entrepreneur space that I don't know that I would have ever gotten had I not found it.
It really is so true. And that's why this podcast is something that I'm so passionate about, because every single woman that I bring on here has a story like that, because my story was like that. And that's like one of the main reasons of this is to show people that there is possibility. There's just sheer possibility for whatever it is. And like you said, you're not trying to replicate you. You're not trying to make more Anjas, but you're trying to help feed people that are hungry for more, that want to be plugged into information, that want to see things differently. And you're now a resource and a touch point for them to be like, wow, I really can have something differently if I really choose to. Because I totally agree. I've lived inside of the box for so long that I actually didn't even know that there was an outside of the box, like in the way that I am living in it now. It's almost like there was just no awareness around the possibility of what entrepreneurship could really look like. 3 years ago, when I dove into an MLM because I tried the products and I liked them and they worked. So I was like, sure, let me try to help other people and do the thing. And that's how Anja and I ended up meeting, was in a coaching program that I had gotten into in order to build that MLM business. But I will forever be grateful for that MLM and those products, even though I'm not currently partnered with that business anymore. I will forever be grateful for the choice I made in doing that, because it unfolded this life that you see me showing up and doing every single day. And that possibility would never have happened if I hadn't have just peeked behind the curtain and been like, whoa, what is, like, there's more for me than like clocking in every day. And this is me saying this coming from someone who still has their 9 to 5, and I am building this business. So you can do both things, right? It doesn't have to be this or that. It can be both. But I think such an important message is to understand that it's okay to want something different. It doesn't make you a bad person. You shouldn't feel guilty about it. Like, it's okay to want different things, because we evolve and we grow. And it's actually more natural, in my opinion,
Yes.
to want different things. Like, it's crazy to me to think that for about 20 years now, while I've been like fully into the workforce for the most part, for about 20 years now, I haven't allowed myself to even consider wanting something different. Now, to me, I'm like, that's totally fucking nuts. I can't believe I did that.
I remember the moment that I looked around when I was LPC, and I looked around the room, and this sounds really snotty, but hopefully you'll get the humor in it. Is I looked around the room and I was like you just see your future for a second. And I was like, everybody here has bad haircuts and wearing khakis. Like,
Yeah.
there's
Wasn't
nothing
that for
wrong
me?
with khakis. But it just wasn't like, I didn't resonate. I was just like, it was like somebody gave me like the crystal ball, and I was like, this is my future. It's like, this is not me. Like, this is, what am I doing here? Like you said, you realize like this was the box, and then just like a little sunshine peeked through, and just illuminated it. And I went, in fact, that day, I was still married at the time. That day I texted him and I said, I don't care if we ever eat out again, if I ever get a new piece of clothing, which I mean, you do, but this is where I was in the moment. If we ever eat out again, if I ever have a new car again, if I ever have a new piece of clothing again, I'm done. I'm just done, and like you said, we get shoulded, is what I call it. We get shoulded on, right? You should do this, you should do that. The last day I was an LPC, which is a mental health professional, and I worked with kids. And I worked with sexually abused kids. And you guys, again, I went through infertility for 10 years. I had a stepdaughter. I adopted a little boy through DHS. I have, believe it or not, I have a tribal card. I don't look like the, again, typical Native American, but I have a tribal card which allowed me to adopt Christian, and then had 2 babies. And it's like, I was giving every ounce of me to these other people's children. And it was important. But guess what? I have 4 at home that I chose to have as well in different ways. And I had nothing left. Nothing left for them, nothing left for me, nothing left for anybody else. And on my final day, I'm walking out of the courthouse where I'm having to testify against a man that I know did horrible, unthinkable things to a child. And they're dragging me through the mud, right? And my name through the mud to discredit me, to allow him to go free. And I'm just so exhausted. I'm mentally, emotionally, physically exhausted. And a colleague of mine was, passed, and I just told him it was my last day. And he shamed me. He was like, there are so many kids out there that need you. And I literally just took a deep breath and I said, I have 4 at home that need me as well. And I just turned and walked away. So just know, like, people, they're not going to get it. Yeah. They're not going to get it.
Yeah. And that's true. That really is one of the biggest reasons that I didn't really know that there was anything outside of the box, right? Is because of the sort of societal conditioned things. It was like, no, you go to college, you get a 9 to 5, you get a career that, is then salaried, and you do all of the life things. Now, I have decided to go against the status quo in my own personal life, being that, my husband and I have been together for 17 years. We're not technically married. I mean, in the state of Texas, we are, because it's like common law, but we chose not to have kids. We're not actually married. Like, and that's something that just blows people's mind. They're like, what? Oh my gosh, how could you like ever decide that? But I never allowed myself to be that individualistic mindset with my career. And I mean, I love the company that I work with, but there's parts of it, like it just wasn't fulfilling the other sides of me. And so that's really why I want people to understand it's okay to want other things. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to drop what you have, but it's okay to explore those sides of you.
So 2 points. I heard, I told you guys earlier, I was listening to Mel Robbins. And so she talked about how actually, statistically, people do better. They're 33, 35% more likely to be successful if you don't give up your job, especially when you start your entrepreneurial journey, because there's lots of reasons why, I'm sure. But just to know that, because back in the day, back when I first joined back in 15 years ago, I mean, all we preached was, I mean, I remember showing up and they were like, well, when are you going to sell the boot camp? When are you going to quit your job? And it was just like, I mean, that was just expected, right? But now, of course, we do multiple streams of income, and more people are getting on board with that idea. But so it really statistically is smarter you may quit at some point. You may find that that's what you want to do, you choose to do, but it is smarter to not do it right away. So I want to point that out. I just heard that this morning. And then the other thing is that something that you pointed out, and again, I'm much older than you, I'm 53, but and this has been difficult for me, even with relationships, probably more so than anything, but in particular with your jobs, with anything that you do. I don't know where, but I feel like it sounds like it's the same for you. At some point in growing up, it was planted in our brains that those things were going to last forever and that you should do it forever. Like if you made it, like, what are you going to be when you grow up? You go to college and then you do that forever. And you have you get your pension or your 401k or whatever. And if you don't do that, you can't possibly have insurance or pay into retirement. I literally had this conversation the other day with somebody on my MLM team. And I said, tell your mama you can get insurance and you can pay into retirement without having to work for somebody else. It's possible. In fact, I've got somebody I'll hook with, right? And I think that the key point is that just because we stop doing something, just because I stopped being an LPC and doing that, doesn't mean that I regretted it, doesn't mean it was a bad thing, doesn't mean that I'm a bad person for not doing it forever. Just because if at some point you decide not to do your corporate job anymore, doesn't mean that you, like you said, you regret doing it, or that other people shouldn't do it, or any negative connotation. It just means that chapter, that period, like it served its purpose for you, like, and it's complete. You are at peace with it and you can walk away. Sometimes we choose, sometimes it's imposed on us, but like, it doesn't make it. That's what change is so hard. It's just human nature, and change is hard. But I think when people make a change, or I'm also very open-minded. Like you and I could have completely different political views, religious views, views on anything. And as long as we're being respectful of each other and other people we're talking about, I can have a conversation with you and walk away and still be your great friend, right? And love you and respect you, as long as we do it that way. And not everybody can do that, because if you think differently than me, does that mean I'm wrong? No, it just means that it's different. It means it's different for you. And so I think that is a very difficult for people. It's like, well, if I leave this company, does that mean that they're a bad company? I don't like them. I don't support the people because I've changed companies twice. One closed and one I left under some negative situation. And, the people there, it was like, don't talk to her now. I'm still the same person I was.
Yeah.
I'm still the same person that made all those amazing memories with you for 6 years and cheered you on and coached you and cried with you and knows your children. I'm still that same person, right? Just because our circumstances changed doesn't mean I changed, and doesn't mean you have to protect yourself from me. Like I'm
Yeah.
still the person before. And so I just think that that's a human nature. Hopefully we're making progress on that, but I think that's human nature.
Yeah. No, I agree with you. Man, you made a lot of really good points in this. Like the seeing it differently, huge seeing it differently. And also understanding like how you had mentioned, okay, so let's say you leave a company. Well, all of a sudden there's all of these connotations as to why it was bad or you were bad or all of these things. And it's like,
Right.
why on earth are we doing this to, why are we giving all the power to this word, to this idea? Like, why can we not have some autonomy from this and just say, look, I'm a good person who this circumstance just didn't work out for me. And now I'm moving on and I'm doing something else that's enriching my life. Like, and that's that. And so I'm very much in line with you. Like I can have a conversation with people about all sorts of different religions and politics and all the things. And it doesn't faze me because I don't allow any of those ideas and those concepts to have power over my authentic self. Like it doesn't change me if someone else thinks differently than me. I actually find it to be rather interesting because then I can dive in and be like, tell me why you think this. Like what's the like it's just you become inquisitive, and there's such a different energy when you come to a circumstance with curiosity versus judgment. Like the energy is completely different, and you don't have to be fully accepting of someone else's ideas that maybe don't align with yours, but to have the respect to listen and to understand that that's how they feel and that's what's true for them. What's wrong with that, right? And so yeah, entrepreneurship has taught me so much of this to just expand my mind and expand my heart and really just better understand myself first and foremost, but also be a better human to help support others that are out there having these quote unquote wild and crazy ideas. And it's like, that's just because they want to think a little bit differently than what society is telling us to think. And that's okay. Like, we don't have to stigmatize that.
No, not. I mean, how boring would it be if we were all just alike and thought just alike and did things just alike? And that's one reason I love to travel. One thing that I'm working towards, is being able. In fact, that's one reason I moved my office this morning. Is that I've moved everything into this one room so I can lock the door, and I'm planning on Airbnb my home while I'm traveling away, because this is another way to make money. Why not? If I'm not here, right?
Yeah.
Why shouldn't I do that? And again, so many people are like, want anybody in my house? And I'm like, I would like to make money when I'm not at my house. Like, it's like a different way to think of it. Right. And so I love to travel, and I love to meet people from other cultures, just other places. Of course, like when I went to Fiji, when we met local people there, and they were like, come to my village. And I'm like, let's go. Like I love to do things like that. But even just within the United States and different regions and how people think differently and live differently. And I love that. And I think that expands our mind and our ability to think outside the box, but also to respect other people and understand that we don't have to all think alike or do things alike. I'm telling you, my core best friends, most of them, we completely think differently politically, some of us even religiously. And there's certain things that we agree not to talk about most of the time, but there's
boundaries, right? That's okay.
a discussion about it, but like just on the daily, like, we stay in our lanes with those things, but I still love and respect them. And, they're very important to me. But I do think that, like you said, doing different things, being willing to try new things, have new experiences, meet different people who think and do differently. You never know. Here's the fear, I think, is that people's like, oh, what if I start thinking that way? What if, and I've been taught this way, that's scary. Well, you may, but like you said, if you know who you are, then that doesn't have to be a fear, but I might find something cool, like a new food that I like, or a new whatever, a new way to dress, or new things, because you expand your experience by doing those, and which I love to do. I love to do it.
And what I've actually come to recognize the most, I think, about my growth in once I stepped into entrepreneurship is it's not necessarily that I landed on this like, oh my gosh, here's this brand new identity of Sarah that has never existed before.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, it's actually like the parts of me that I've hidden and stuffed away for so long that didn't, 100% align with whatever conditioned societal things wanted me to do. Those parts of me were finally able to come forward and be like, okay, we've been sitting on the sidelines for a long time. Like, we're ready to show up and be here. And so it really is, it's not about like being afraid of, oh my gosh, what if I become a person that I don't like? It's like, no, you're only going to become a better version of you. It's like, it's this magnifying glass that all it does is it helps clarify and helps you see all of the facets of you. You become a more well-rounded like human just in general. And that for me was what hooked me with entrepreneurship. Once I recognized that aspect, I was like, I could make $1 a month or $10,000 a month. That's based on intentional action and, awareness of my actions is how much money I make. But the real reason I'm here is because look at the self-discovery that can be had. It's like, it is magical, the things that you will find out about yourself. And you become such like a human that is able to perceive and see the world around you in this whole new light. It's like putting on the glasses, and seeing everything clearly. And you're like, whoa, the purples are purplier and all the things. And it's a new perspective.
It is, and I think you hit on a couple of things. So number one, entrepreneurship, selling, people have such a hard time when sell's a 4-letter word. Yeah, it is. But the definition of selling is solving a problem. So if you are a problem solver, you love helping people, then this is perfect, right? But I think it helps us to be more effective at helping people by, like you said, becoming this better, enhanced, more colorful version of ourselves. And it's for sure, like I said, I dropped speech 3 times in college now. And then I remember the first time I spoke on stage and I was like 500 people, then 1,000 people. I was like, who am I right now? Right. And now I literally, if I'm having a bad day, I'm like, that's it. I'm going to stop and make a reel. It's like therapy for me. Like, it's insanity. And so I think, and I found my funny. That's what, I've had strangers stop me in a restaurant. I'm like, are you Anja from AskAnja? And I'm like, what? And they're like, you're so funny. And I'm like, this is the girl who would do anything to avoid having everybody look at me, right? And now I'm out there, like, putting myself out there, and I found my funny, and I love it. I love it, and it helps attract people to me so I can help more people. But the final thing I was going to say about that, Sarah, is that, like you said, it's not like, okay, this was my life before entrepreneurship, and then this is life after. Like, it's not 2 separate things. It's a there'll be chapters in the book, right, that look differently, but it's a continuation. And I always say, I feel like everything I've ever done, from being like the top seller in my senior class to get, are you ready? Like, you're sitting down, a boom box, because it was 1988. Yes. Okay. So poor girl over here that came in literally with the boom box on their shoulder. And I was like, how many magazines do I have to sell to get that? And I did it, right? I'm 17 years old, and I got the bug for carrots. Do this, get that. Do this, get that. And it like clicked for me, right? And so then I became a teacher. I was a cheer counselor, a cheer coach, and we would have a fireworks stand to raise our money for their uniforms and all that kind of stuff. Well, then I got really good at that. So then I did it for myself. So again, that selling bug was still there. And I went to a boot camp to get the baby weight off after I had 2 babies within 17 months apart. Was like, I like this. So now I'm a student. Now I'm an instructor. Now I bought it, And so it's just this development of this journey. And I think all roads led to right here. Mm-hmm. But a very different, like you said, perspective, view, enhanced, more roadways, more buildings, more green space, like all the things compared to what I could have possibly done 30 years ago. And I think, that's what we're talking about is just, and I feel like, especially as an entrepreneur, as a leader in MLM spaces, that what we do through our journey, but also through coaching, through leadership, is give people hope, that there can be more, and then show them and cheer them on and support them through that. Because there's kind of a bridge, there that you have to cross. And there's going to be people that are shooting you down and shoulding you and saying you can't and you shouldn't. And who do you think you are? And now are you better than me because you're doing something different that I couldn't possibly see myself doing? Like, all of these are real things, but that's why that self-development piece is really, really important.
Yeah, agree. So on that note, I wanted to ask you, what is something that you've encountered? And I'm sure you probably have like a big old bucket of these, so you might have to just pick the best one. But what's like a moment that in the moment, it felt like a major failure, but looking at it now, you're like, that was 100% one of the best opportunities I ever had. Is there something like that for you that stands out, where it was like at the time you're like, oh shit, but now you're like, thank goodness that happened?
Well, 100%. It's both times that, which sounds crazy because I had to start over, and I'll back up to that in a second. But when my first company closed on a phone call and they said 30 days from now will be no more. And that's how I was paying 100% of my bills. I have 4 children, mortgage, car payments, kids that are getting ready to need cars. One that already had a car, college, weddings are all like looming, and I'm sitting here and it's like, what the fuck just happened? Like, seriously, it was like somebody died, and so you had to like mourn it and everything. You're like, okay, well, I can either stay here. It's a decision, and then I even looked at going back to teaching. And I was just like, and the whole time I'm researching what I have to do to go back to teaching and admin, and I'm feeling anxiety and out of alignment and icky and no. And I just went, that's it. No, like, this is who I am. Now I've come this far. Why? Just because that stopped doesn't mean I have to go way back to here, right? Where I started. Like, I'm here now. And then the second time, just this last March, you guys, again, on an email, you no longer have a business, 6-figure business. You're a single mom. I own my house. I'm paying for D1 college for my daughter. You no longer have, and not only that, we're not paying you for this month for what you did. So like, bad. And again, crying on the bed, heaving, you guys, like a person had died, because I guess like a part of me did. And I've been just so betrayed and lost so many people, like I said, because they chose that I was a horrible person. So that's a story for another time. But in that moment, it was just like, okay, like, am I going to have to sell everything I own? Which I'm going to tell you guys, I have sold jewelry to pay the rent during divorce and transition time. Like, I'm not above it. I'm not, I mean, for sure. Yeah. But I was just like, what the hell? And both of those moments seemed like the end of the world. But as bad as the second time was, I knew I had done it before. Anything you do once, you can do again. I'm not starting at ground zero. I have huge network. I have experience. I have knowledge. I have all these abilities. And so I just kind of got to get my shit together mentally and emotionally, and then make a decision and let's go, Yeah. And so, and now you and I both know, like, my new MLM company, and then being able to do coaching, which just energizes me. Both of those things, being a leader, selling. I love to sell. I love to have happy clients. I love to lead and coach people on my team. And I love to do one-on-one VIP days and get shit done and see results for people. Those things fill me up. And I would have never gotten there had it not been for these two, what seemed like horrible instances and it's not just a company closing. It's not just getting terminated. There were lots of relationship issues with both of those, ugliness, like lots and lots of stuff that nobody would choose to walk through. But guys, I might, if I know, I actually would at this point, if they said, you can't get here without going through those two things, I would say, let's do it. I would armor up and I would say, let's do it, because it's that much better and that richer, and that not just the company, but the experiences and how much I appreciate it. And what I now, my perspective that I can give to others, and which is what both of our hearts are, is to help people not settle and to elevate. And I couldn't possibly, have you ever been asked to speak on something that you've never done or you don't know anything about? You have to go research it, right? You have to learn about it. And like when I first started with the MLM and they were like, get me on a call and they'd say, what are you doing? Like, you're rising to the top of the company so fast. I was like, just what Laura's telling me to do, which was my first, upline.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're doing. But at this point, after walking through those two things and landing where I am, I know what I've done. And I know now I have all of this experience and rich thing to be able to help other people, which is my heart.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the thing. That's why I love to ask this question, because so often you have conversations with people and either they're focusing on what didn't work, right? All the failures, woe is me kind of thing. And it's like, if you just flipped that on its head a little bit and chose to see it as something that increased your resiliency, gave you a little bit of humility probably too, because let's be honest, ego will get involved nine times out of 10 when success, hits and is like running fast. And I actually just did a podcast episode relatively recently from the time of this recording, where I was touching on some stuff that I had heard from a keynote speech from John Maxwell. And if you guys don't know who that is, go look him up. He's like one of the most renowned thought leaders. I'd be shocked if you didn't, but you never know. But go scroll back through the podcast, you'll see it. But one of the topics that I was talking about in that episode was like how success and failure, they go together. Like they're like
you can't have one or the
you
other. Like
cannot. Yeah. No. And the beautiful part of it is, like I had mentioned just a moment ago, failure brings you the humility to bring you back down into your body and be like, okay, I got a little ahead of myself there. Like, let me go ahead and take a pause and really just sit in this moment, right? I think sometimes failures present themselves because it reminds us to be present and really embody what is currently happening, the good and the bad, right? Because it's really just neutral and we're placing the meaning of good and bad and whatever. But failure is so important because it helps us get to those next up levels. If you find somebody that's like constantly saying, oh, I'm just plateaued, it's just stagnant, blah, whatever. It's like, when was the last time you failed at something? Probably years ago, because you're too afraid.
Yeah. You didn't. When's the last time you stretched yourself? Yeah.
Right. And so I actually, now that I recognize that perspective, in a way, I a little bit seek out moments that may lead to failures, because I know that like the word failure is just something that is assigned to something that maybe didn't work out the way you meant it to. Like, it really doesn't actually mean anything bad. And so I seek those moments because it helps remind me of, that bring me back down to earth, humbles me a little bit, gives me that humility back, just so I can get back into my body and say, okay, let me remind myself of why I was doing this in the first place, and then get back to work. And then when you get that traction and that moment of success, it teaches you resiliency and discipline, because how are you going to keep it? Right? You got to keep doing the do and stay disciplined and resilient in the work, because that shit doesn't happen by accident.
It does not.
You know that. And another thing I wanted to touch on with the failure that you were saying, how, these things just sort of up and disappeared out of your life, right? So many people get so fixated on when something like that happens, and they choose to allow it to sort of identify that something is wrong with them, rather than looking at it as like, This was actually a good thing because it was taking up too much space in my life. Now I have so much more space for something even better, for something that is actually more aligned with me. Because for so long, I mean, I know you would agree with this statement. We stay with something much longer than we should, simply out of the shoulding. The shoulding. There it is. There's the should.
And I mean, I'm loyal to a fault too, and I've said this a gazillion times. I mean, like, again, I was in a 29-year marriage, 32-year relationship, and whenever I left, it was, I mean, there's argument to say it should have never happened, but also definitely should have left for sure 8 years prior to that, you know. And then I remember saying, once I did come out of, because there's a grieving process through things. I mean, especially if it's been traumatic to you, so you have to like move through that. And once I did, it is important to heal. I want to just make this point. Somebody the other day said, if you're not healed, you're going to continue to bleed on other people. So if something's happened, like, do heal yourself before you're trying to move on. But once you're in, especially working with other people, but once I did, I was just like, I mean, I think everything happens for a reason, but I know that this latest one happened for a reason, because I would have never left. I would just been like, I mean, even the first company that closed, I make the joke, but it's very serious. I was like, the ship was going down and the rats had already left, because that's the last thing that leaves a sinking ship. I was like, the rats were already gone and we were still on it. Like, what the hell were we thinking? But like, I mean, sometimes I feel that God, whatever you believe, but God like takes things away, removes us from situations, makes these types of changes that even can feel so, we don't understand it in the moment, but it's like, because I wouldn't have done it. And there was more for me. And there were people that needed the gifts that I've been given and I needed to interact with, and I wouldn't have done it otherwise.
And that's so true. It's so true. How many people have you probably met that whenever it comes to like relationships, right? So, I mean, it happens in business, it happens with relationships. Until your hand is forced to make change, most people won't. And
No.
that's why I think having conversations like this are so vital for people to recognize, for those that are on the precipice of knowing that they're not taking action out of fear, but they know that change is something that is 100% needed in order for them to feel fulfilled and joyful in their life. This conversation is for those people that know, like, it's okay to step through and feel a little bit uncomfortable, because what's on the other side is even better. Like, it doesn't have to stay the same. I mean, that's my intro, right? Challenge the status quo and show the fuck up in your own life. Like, you have the power to do that. And it isn't
And
about being
sometimes
an asshole and running around
no.
saying you know everything, but it's about having like an open mind and an open heart. Like,
And sometimes you don't even know how much those relationships, that job, that career choice, that whatever it is, the thing is weighing on you until you're either taken from the situation, you choose to make a change, you're removed, whatever. And all of a sudden it's just like you said, there's all this space that they were taking up, or it was taking up, but also this heaviness that was affecting, was coloring everything that you did, all your choices, how you felt, your thoughts, all these different things. And until it's removed or you're removed, like you said, like all you could see was the inside of the box. Like that's all you know. And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, wow, and you have this whole new perspective and freedom. And just know that if you believe that things happen for a reason, you just have to seek out what were the lessons from that interaction, from that relationship, from that position I had, whatever it is. What are my takeaways? What are the things that I want to hang on to, the goodness? And then what are the maybe mistakes or missteps I made that I don't want to repeat? And then step into the new chapter and embrace it, and embrace the new version of you. And it's really a beautiful thing. In fact, I am sad now that I'm doing it. And again, it's painful sometimes. Shit's real.
Sometimes.
And hey, that's why you need to have the support system. But when I see people that get stuck and just, well, this is how it's always been. This is how it's always been here. This is how I am. And they're buying into that story, and they're not willing to write a different story or a different chapter, it makes me sad for them. Now it's their choice, and they get to stay there or move or whatever, but it makes my heart hurt a little bit because I'm just like, oh, what you're saying you want and what you're doing and believing are two totally different things, and it's over here for you. You just have to choose it. And yeah, it may be like walking on glass or whatever to get there, but you'll heal, and you'll have this beautiful life, and you'll also have this experience where you can turn around and help other people, which is one thing I believe that we're supposed to do. So.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I think you're right. It can feel a little bit like whiplash for sure. Once you step into the unknown, and you're like, whoa, this is so much fun, but oh my gosh, this is fucking scary too. And I don't really know what I'm doing. I said, it was a couple of podcasts ago where I had this analogy because it just came to me visually, it came to me. And I was saying, like, life, it's like the current in the Finding Nemo, where like the turtles are just riding the current. They're like, they're in the light, right? Life is the current. But most of us are just hanging out outside of here, and we just see the current, and we're like, oh, that looks fun. Oh, that looks fun. Oh, they look like they're having a good time. Oh, it's not for me. It's going to be too jarring to just get in. And it's like, what would happen? What's the worst that would happen if you decided to just jump in? I mean, yeah, you're going to end up over there, but maybe something over there is like what you're supposed to see. Like, so I don't know. It's a whole new perspective, and it's just really exciting to be able to share conversations like this with people so they can hopefully see themselves in our conversation and be like, oh, yes. Okay, that really filled me up. That got me excited. That gave me energy for today. And then maybe they go do something different, right? And that's just what's so exciting. So as we wrap up, I want to ask, because entrepreneurship, it's always ever changing and evolving, and there's always something new around every corner, it seems. So what's up next for you? Like, what can we keep our eyes open and, see from you here coming up?
So I feel like those that have been following me, like I said, the last 7-8 months, it's been like, whoa, what's she doing? It's been a little confusing. Well, it's because I've been confused. I've been searching. I've been trying to figure it out. So it's not by accident. It's not on purpose. It wasn't intentional to be that way, but just know that was very authentic. It's real. It's what it was. And again, trying to figure out what now, what is next, and then when the bills just keep coming in, you've got to get something that's also making some money. So I have, like I said, landed at an MLM company, which we share in common, that I love, and that I feel like it's like a complete, just full circle moment for me from when I started in this space 15 years ago to now. So much of it is alike, but also move forward 15 years and where it needs to be, to the point that the colors are the same. Because one person that was in that original company with me to this one, she was like, do you realize like it's even the same colors? So it's like, it's kind of goosebumpy. And so like just building and helping people and the leadership aspect of my MLM. And then for sure, because now I have some affiliate links, which I'm always, if I'm going to use it, I'm going to have an affiliate link, and I'm going to have that in my menu, but that's going to be my focus. And then I've been able to identify that, again, the VIP days, the one-on-one with people in coaching. And, do you want to do that in 3 hours? Let's knock it out. Let's get your cover photo done. Let's get your, tagline done. Let's get your milkshake done. Let's get this done. Like, let's get it done. And so these are the jobs I'm going to do. This is the jobs that your VA is going to do, or whoever you're having do your graphics. This is the job. Like, we're going to map it out, and we're going to, like, it's not going to take forever. So those two things are really, really my focus. And then, like I said, I have been landlocked for too long here in Oklahoma. My happy place is the beach, and I don't know that any one beach is necessarily where I want to go. And so I have a friend that has already bought an RV, and we're going to travel in her RV for a little while until I'm able to get my own. And so traveling and like I said, being able to Airbnb this space while I'm away. So those are my top 3, and all of which I feel like, like you said, inspiring others to like think outside the box, do the dang thing, and stretch, but also in the leadership mode and the coaching mode to use my experiences to help other people.
And can I just say from personal experience, like I have been able to be mentored by Anja through an MLM that we are both partnered with and just be in her presence over these last, like, what is it? Probably almost 2 years or something now that we've probably known
Mhm.
each other.
Yes.
But to see how she shows up, like, I don't know that I've seen anybody like you. The way she shows up in her team chats and just the energy that she brings to every conversation and leading by example. Let me just say that because there are plenty of quote unquote leaders who don't actually do the work, right? They have other, VAs they're paying that are doing the work. And then they're sitting there on screen saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe how much I got done today. And I only worked 3 days this week. It's like, who
Mm.
works the other 5? As
Yeah.
if there's 8 days in the week. It's like, who's doing all the other work? Because nobody's working just like 2, 3 days a week. The work's getting done by somebody. And yes, it's fantastic if you can outsource at some point and you get, have the extra funds to pay other people to do things. Awesome. But man, Anja, you lead by example like nobody else. And it really is such a powerful thing to see. And I'm just so honored to be able to be connected with you and to see this growth. And I am so excited to see this new adventure like for you unfold because it's already amazing. So like it's only getting better. And of course, any like all the ways to connect with Anja, I'll put everything in the show notes. I'll link it for you guys so that way you can get connected with her for sure. Jump into her DMs, get into her Facebook group, like get connected and get access to like her really, really powerful leadership and mentorship skills because they rub off.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you saying all of that, and I've loved getting to know you better and closer and work with you more closely. And so I'm honored to work with you and then to be on here as well. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, y'all. Until the next time, we'll see ya.
Bye, guys.
Thank you so much for listening to Branded, the podcast. Please rate and review. And for more information, visit socialjanemedia.com. I'll see you soon.